Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. Support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys. Head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
I can't speak for David, but
I
know he won't answer correctly. I think he's thinking about you listening to it.
He's right.
That gives him glee.
He's right.
But sometimes it can be true. It's just nonsense.
I'm assuming we're going to use this as in the intro, so I need everyone to know, about a week and a half ago, I was like, Dave, what's up? And he was like, here's a picture. And the picture was a coffee cup that he'd taken. It's a picture on his phone of a coffee cup, and that shit has haunted me for a week and a half.
I don't remember that at all.
That was at the party.
It was like, why do you have that? And he was like, I don't know, it's a coffee cup. And I was like, you're just waiting to talk to me, aren't you? You just have like 8 bits packed away, knowing I'm going to see it.
I'm honestly, I'm
like
not a big fan of that bit. It's too non sequitur to me. It's like, I give it a B.
Too unorthodox for him?
B, solid B. It's a B minus.
Well, I loved it. I hate it because I love it. I was. It's like your Sbarro shit. I was like, all right, I like it. You're right. You were fucking right.
Unironically like Sbarro. Hey, listen. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
You guys can say hi. Hey, hi. My name is David Bell.
I'm Abe Epperson.
And I'm Adam Ganser.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
And we just watched Twisters. Should I unbuckle my pants for this?
You got quite the reputation, city girl. You think you can disrupt a tornado.
In theory. But in the field, in the moment, I got it wrong. We never had a chance.
You want one?
Thank you guys so much for being on.
Sure.
Replacing Tom, who is he's died.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Tom dropped out of life.
Wind related.
Yeah.
He was
wow,
hurled
you're really
by
doing it.
He was hurled by the tornado monster into oblivion, where no bodies or bones are recovered.
Mm-hmm.
Before we start, so thank you. You guys want to plug things? What do you guys going on? Like, what's...
Abe, you want to plug anything?
Go to patreon.com/smallbeans for more stuff like Gamefully Unemployed. We also work with them all the time. We have a bunch of shows with them, like Spiel Boys.
Yeah.
Star Trek The Next Futurama. Inside Dads.
Yep.
We do. Yeah,
come over.
Direct-to-piece theater is one we do.
Yeah. Me and you, Adam.
Yeah, we do Tales from the Pit sometimes when we're sad.
A wellness podcast.
Yeah, we do. We share media.
Swam.
We do so many things. And if you don't like that, but you do like Maggie Mae Fish, I do a podcast with her called Lynchpins that you can find on YouTube. And if you like it so much, you want to hear it 5 days earlier than when you can hear it on YouTube, go sign up for Nebula, where you can, hear the early uncut edition of it.
Ooh.
There's more jokes there. They cut a lot of the jokes out for the YouTube release. YouTube has no patience for jokes. None. Like, don't get even.
No, it's not a place for jokes.
Yeah, no jokes here. Fuck you.
You want to plug something? You're just griping about the algorithm.
Yeah, I got stuff to plug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you guys like tornadoes or what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Great segue.
I fucking love tornadoes.
There's nothing. People know what this is. This is Twisters. It's from the director of Minari. It's not at all a sequel to Twister. It has one small connection. I do think they.
What are you talking about?
I do think they. What?
There's
connection?
Dorothy's in it. Dorothy.
That's
4.
what I'm saying. That's the only connection. It's a device. Is the only fucking connection.
I think it's more than a device.
I think when she visited her mom, I think that was written for Helen Hunt.
Yes.
Do you guys get that vibe?
I did too. I thought Helen Hunt not being in it was weird. I really wanted her in it. I wanted her to step out of the tornado, the first one. Just step right out and be like, "It is I, Queen Tornado. I have ascended." Yep. No, Maura Tierney, by the way, who plays the mom. I was like, "Oh shit, she's still got it. She's still pretty funny." You know?
Oh yeah, she's news radio.
Yeah.
Get out of town.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, she still has it. I wish she was doing something on TV like that.
Yeah,
I really do. Anyway,
that was
they got her in
pleasant
Twisters.
Surprise. Also, Paul Scheer's
Paul Scheer just sitting around being a flight guy.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I people like, because how did this get made? I feel like he makes these little cameos. And then, did you know Sally Draper's in it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She gets sucked off right at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah. Spoilers. She gets sucked up.
Spoilers.
Yeah. A lot of people getting sucked off in this movie.
I kept calling her Sally Draper with the people I saw it with, and they were like, "What is that?" And I was like, "From Mad Men," and they were like, "What is that?" And that's when I cried.
They're like, "Is that a sex thing?" You give them the old Sally Draper.
Right now. I'm gonna add steaks to
Abe's
the podcast.
displeased with what we're doing.
I am a little
like delicious grilled steaks.
I am a little, because it's not proper respect to Twister.
Oh.
Twister is one of the movies that when I complete the the visual map of why I'm a filmmaker, Twister is a key column.
You love
in
that
the
movie.
Abe Epperson.
You love it.
Yeah. I love
Abe
Twister
does love
so
Twister.
much.
We've talked about Twister off podcast more than twice.
Twister's like, if there's one movie that you think of when you think Abe Epperson, it's Twister. That's what I say.
This is a really good starting point that I perhaps should have done, which
What's
is
your connection?
asking your relationship
With
to the original Twister.
I'll go on.
It's an institution. It's like asking someone their relationship to water. It's we love Twister in this house, right?
I think this is one of the rare times that like film critics totally don't appreciate how movie audiences feel, because a lot of the reviews I read were like, "Oh yeah, this 30-year-old movie like that's fallen into obscurity," and I'm like, "No, people love Twister."
Who said that? Tell me who said that.
Abe, I'm going to send you some names. I'm going to send you a list of names.
Thank you.
Yeah, Helen Hunt almost went blind on Twister. That was, they did some crazy shit. And nobody cried for that.
And the Paxman as well. They both got blinded by these carbon arcs just shot right in their face by Yonda Bond. A literal maniac.
Yeah. That first one's so great. I don't know. It's so dumb in a perfect way because it was co-written at least by Michael Crichton.
Yeah.
It does this weird, like, it heavily implies that she's getting revenge for a Twister that killed her father, and like it is the same Twister.
Yeah. Like it's the same Twister. It's the same type. It's an EF5. They updated it.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is true to the science, but F5 sounds way cooler.
I enjoyed how naked the attempt to make the tornado a monster was in this movie.
Yes.
You know, I'm like, sure. Like it's no longer impressive to just have like weather. It's like, no, it's got a roar and shit.
That's one of the dings I have on this movie is the first movie was that. The first movie was like a monster movie almost.
I agree.
This movie feels less. This movie is kind of all about the science and about the characters, which I don't think is bad.
I love it.
Oh, I really like that it was about the characters. I think the first one was about the characters. There's a lot more character shit.
There is
in that movie.
A lot of nuance in the first one for sure.
I appreciate this film because it felt like it went at a 90s pace.
Yeah.
More.
Yes.
Yeah. Like it could have been way dumber. And it's hard because it sort of feels like a redundant film where you're like, we already have Twister. And this is just kind of like they do a lot of the same beats. They like mix and match, you know, where they're like, oh, what if she's on the Carrie Elway's team?
Yeah.
And like, you know, like, oh, what if instead of her father, it's the tornado kills all her friends, stuff like that, which was fun. What if, it's a rodeo, not a drive-in theater?
What if they cling on to some pipes at some point?
Yeah. Under a bridge
is
the ending.
Yeah. The biggest one is obviously the ending. I have a lot to say.
I do too. But can I just put like the hottest take I have right up top? I'm just gonna drop it.
Drop it. Take a dump.
Here it comes. I thought this was very good for a blockbuster, despite not liking a whole lot of things about it. Like I was like, I am at such odds with it because I walked out and was like, oh, that was really fun, and there's a lot of things that are not good about it, and I don't care. So whatever that secret Twister sauce is, this thing's coated in it. Just coated into Twister sauce.
It was designed for that purpose.
Yeah.
I absolutely like. They knew to do there's cars on they're vying for who's in front to get to the tornado faster.
Yeah.
That matters. Like, you're not gonna not get to the tornado.
Yes.
That's
it's fucking enormous.
It wasn't scared to be dumb.
Agreed.
It did the same things where, like, remember when Bill Paxton, the first one, he's like picking up sand and like sensing the tornado in the wind.
Yeah.
They have her do that shit in this, and I was like,
With
that's
the
so cool
dandelion.
that they're not afraid to make this dumb. I
It's
really
so dumb.
appreciated that.
And there's something in the heart of Twister, which is actually, I think, they improved on in the Twisters, which is that there's just a dumbness factor, and they get that out of the whole YouTube tribe that is like Glenn Powell is in charge of. It's just this idea of they like fire rockets into the tornado and stuff like that, and fireworks. Like, they are insane, and most of the time there is zero impetus or reason for what they're doing other than fucking hell yeah, tornado. It's just that. It's just an appreciation for tornadoes.
The idea, I liked the convergence of, like, she has a purpose but doesn't have the guts, and he has the guts but no purpose.
Right.
And so the idea is, like, what if these guys who are really good at, wrangling a tornado was given a reason? But we see they actually care. I love it. Has dad film, by the way. This is stinky dad film.
Yeah.
So many characters are underestimated. There's so many moments where it's like, ooh, you thought he was bad, but he's selling shirts.
Yeah.
He thought he was selling those shirts. He's giving them away. He cares. There's a lot of that shit where it's like, oh, city girl? You think she's a city girl? No, she's a fucking tornado badass.
From
and
afar.
then you wait and you sit and you go like, ooh, when are they going to fucking find out? I love that shit. That's why I was actually really happy that it was so character focused, because I do think that's like, if you're going to make a second Twister, and it's going to be exactly like the first, the best you can do is make people like the characters, right? Like, that's kind of it. That's all you can do.
That's all
it's like,
first movie was, other than tornado effects. It was It was one relationship with a fun little motley crew. Like it was land pirates. They were basically land pirates. And and then one woman whose only crime was not being cool. So they got
that poor woman.
They knew they needed that in this too.
Yep.
They knew. All right, so the problem with the first Twister,
they did.
Yeah, the character stuff is a little cruel. Where, like, people were saying, like, this woman he dragged along, like her only crime was being afraid of Twisters.
Yeah,
and like
not
Carrie
enjoying
Elways, where they're
death.
like,
Yeah.
If you want to be with the Pax, man, you're gonna have to like a Twister.
Kiss death, bro.
you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be.
And the same with Carrie Elways, where they're like, this guy's a square. He dies now. He dies. But like they like pull back a little bit. And in this one, they knew they're like, we still need someone who's like, oh no, tornadoes. So they brought in a British man.
Yeah, incredible. By the end, they put him in a cowboy
writer.
hat, and he was like, I'm fucking off, but tornadoes, you and I understand each other. Right.
And I love that function too, because like he is a literal cowboy, Glenn Powell, and that's something like when you think of a time where a writer just follows a dude around, you think of Tombstone, you think of the Western trope of a writer who's like, man, you're really out here living it, man. And the dude is in modern society. The guy goes home and watches Netflix, but then by day, I guess, he chases tornadoes with his car.
Well, he's actually wicked smart, and that was the thing. He's like hiding it, right? He's hiding that he's wicked smart. That's one of the underestimated.
He's not really hiding it. That's like, so like there's a lot of stuff in this movie where it's not so much that they're hiding it, it's that it's not in frame. There's a lot of things like if it's not in frame, you just don't think it's there. Like, for instance, cars. Lots of times cars just come veering into frame like jump scares.
Oh, man.
A thing that's like, that's not possible.
That was in the first Twister. That's why they did it.
They did it so many
in the first
times.
Twister, and then they do
It's
it like
really
6
stupid.
times in this.
And I love that they have the
remember
cow.
that?
You know how they have same cow in the first one?
Oh, yeah.
They have they have a great chicken beat.
Oh, yeah.
That really, like, my whole theater was laughing at, which is great.
The chicken beat was good. I think because there was a fucking rodeo. When I was watching that trailer, I was like,
Bull.
give me a fucking bull. And
I
make
was
that bull
disappointed.
attack people while it's in the air flying at
Air
people.
gore. Air goring. That's what we wanted.
What I would the biggest, what I would call my biggest, because I basically just enjoyed this like a big stupid idiot. I watched it in a theater with little kids, and it was so great to hear the little kids be like, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's like
Right.
90s pacing. I was scared that little kids need like, ball numbing action thrown at their face every second. And it was just nice to see little kids see like a kind of quaint 90s blockbuster and love it. But that's all to say that I thought the biggest hit against it was less dumb. It was less silly. It took the tornadoes more seriously.
It did.
I feel like since they don't mention climate change, but I feel like these days they didn't want to trivialize it as much. And mind you, the first movie does take it seriously too, but this movie doesn't do cartoon cow flying around going more. Like they don't put that shit in it. They wanted to be a little like they wanted
This
to make
is a
sure people knew.
crisis.
Yeah, tornadoes are terrible.
They wanted to ostensibly take the movie seriously on its face. Like, it's not Jumanji. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a movie that is like intentionally selling you farce, or it's not Fast and the Furious.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't want to have too much fun with something that's a natural disaster that kills so many people. In real life, it's not like a tsunami where it's like tsunamis can still kind of be fun.
It also kind of
tsunamis
can kind of be fun. Quote,
I don't know what the basis for that
right there.
comparison is.
Yeah, it's not like tsunamis.
we
Those
don't
are
get
still
easy
cool
natural
disasters.
Or like a volcano, like a volcano can still be fun and cool in a movie.
Oh yeah, put a sunglass on a volcano.
You say that until it burns your butt off.
Yeah, put sunglasses on a volcano. You got yourself an awesome time.
What are you gonna do with no butt, lava butt?
Exactly. I just think that they have both times. I think even with the first movie, they probably had a conversation right away where they're like, okay, this actually kills people. There are going to be people watching this who tornadoes affect their lives. So like we have to sort of take it seriously to some extent.
So that's
we have
where
to advocate for victims.
You and I have to look at each other a bit, and like I think there's like we're staring down the movie for how seriously to take it. I think because it is like trying to take the disasters seriously. The tornadoes roar. They literally roar. That's very stupid.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, they do that IRL.
necessary.
Has anybody?
They roar in real life, David.
They sound like they can sound like a
They
train.
do sound. I mean,
Do they roar
like,
victoriously when they
here-
murder somebody? Because that happens.
Has
in this
anybody
movie.
here IRL met a tornado?
Yes.
yes, technically, but it was so small, maybe they wouldn't have even called it. So I don't know if they roar.
It wasn't an
I can't act
EF5.
like
I
that.
didn't see it. I wasn't up close to it or drilled in the earth, Dave, but I did see one in passing on the freeway when I was 13. And it was like, holy shit.
Almost, I was like 19. I don't know. I was like college age.
Yeah.
I was on my way to college, and yeah. And I saw Dust Devil recently. Those things are terrifying and harmless.
Those can get pretty. I mean, those are just mini tornadoes. I know they're not in terms of how like the cloud structure works, but that's essentially what's happening in a tornado, right?
You can't kill a dust devil by throwing dirt in the air, unlike tornadoes.
No.
That's the big. I think that's the thing we would need to talk about a little bit.
Great.
Which is the last one was about science. This one is even more about the science, but also we need to kill the tornado.
You have to escalate it, right?
Yes, but this movie does the escalations, but it also does so many things. I want to point out the beat where we go to, for no reason, just to do a fire tornado. We need to go to an oil rig or whatever the fuck.
Refinery.
It had to happen, but that's like where the climax should happen in terms of like necessary beats that are next. Like story structure wise, if this was Twister, that beat is so redundant. But they were like, nope, we need multiple tornado endings. We need multiple awesome tornadoes. And I think that that's like a blockbuster problem, is that we need to do everything.
Agreed.
Like if there is a feeling of in the 90s when they would do a premise, they're like, okay, storm chasers, what types of tornadoes? Let's Rolodex what we're going to do in this movie, right? What are our set pieces? They were restrained. And they chose their battles and they won those battles. But I would say that the problem with the modern blockbuster, it's a disease that we have. We need to do all of them. We need to do every single Rolodex that we can of the premise and show it to you. Why? Because no stone unturned, or for some reason.
It's funny. I think the original is actually less restrained in some ways, but unrestrained in the right ways. What I mean by that is I want to talk about the ending, because the ending, they're trying to go for bigger, right? But it actually felt smaller, and there's a few reasons why. One is their goal is to make a tornado disappear.
Right.
So I don't know about you guys, but I was sad when the tornado's gone, because I'm like, oh, well, there's no more movie.
Almost all those tornadoes, by the way, evaporate all of a sudden anyway. So so the science they've
control when.
Maybe. Like, how does it prove anything when tornadoes randomly disappear all the time?
They could have just probably they just got very lucky.
Yeah.
Should we explain? Because I feel like people are going to be listening to this who haven't seen Twisters.
Yeah,
I feel like this is one
enough.
that people are going to be like. So in the first one, the idea it was like surprisingly low stakes. The first Twister is like, we just want to study inside a tornado, and then
see
they
what
do
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a tornado. And this one, at first, they want to take 3 cameras and film the outside of it, which I guess will do something.
They want to
like
scan it. They want to get a 3D scan of it.
Yeah,
right. Which feels like Dorothy, the first one, did that too. But whatever.
Almost better.
Dave, if you want to start arguing with the science of this, I have one word for you. That word is drone. Drones make everything about this movie not necessary.
What are you talking about? Drones have a fatal weakness, which is that they fly on the wind. And you know who
they also can't hold
who's in
all
charge
that
of
sand.
the wind?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean a drone to fake kill a tornado, a thing I don't believe is scientific. Because who would?
To scan it.
Yeah.
To take the pictures.
Of course,
you're
Dave.
Take some.
I mean, I don't know everything there is to know about drones, but like, I know they're probably good enough to do what those 3 panels were doing. You know?
Yeah.
Those panels were sweet, though.
They were good.
Right? They
good
look
looking
like
panels. Great looking panels.
I love them.
But they're red herring, because they set it up, and I remember thinking, like, surely this isn't the goal of the whole movie, right?
Surely
because that is a boring fucking
enough.
goal.
Yeah.
But we set up at the very beginning that all her friends died while she was trying to send up diaper sand into the tornado to make a tornado stop.
Right.
And it became an F5. She underestimated it. All her friends die. Her boyfriend gets sucked off. Everybody gets sucked off.
Yeah.
But her. And then so like we sit on that idea for a while, and then she's traumatized, living in New York. She's a big city gal. Goes to fight tornadoes one last time because her friend from the army built these scanners, and then that's when they meet Glenn Powell, and he's like YouTube tornado chasing. It's like a friendly competition, and then she realizes she's working for the bad guys because they're scanning tornadoes for the landowner. I'm not quite sure what his grift was.
His grift is he buys all the land at a low price because they're desperate. So he gives them some money, but way less than what it's worth. And then
why does he need to scan it?
That's the problem.
Yeah,
is that it's a part meteorological science. There's no money,
guys.
In it because
we could destroy this script. Like if there are if you spend
it's the biggest hole.
This script has huge problems in it. Huge problems.
They never quite explain it. Yeah, because why does he need to know? The idea is if we scan the outside of this tornado, this was kind of the same with the first Twister, where they're like, we send these little balls up. Yeah, we will then be able to predict them before they start. And I'm like, I don't know if that's how that works, but sure. But in this one, it feels like the landowner doesn't care about predicting them before he starts. All he has to do is go to where a tornado just was and buy all their land.
Yeah, the tornado is the thing. It's not like he needs to know details about whether or not.
Know in advance.
So then you got to wonder, what are they actually scanning? You know what I mean? Like, because we don't need tornado.
I don't know.
So what are those 3 panels really doing?
They're getting like a 3D scan of the tornado.
Super high res. So it's just like Dorothy was in the first one, just like updated and more technological.
I think you guys are not thinking clearly about what it implies that this man's just trying to buy land. And also they say that the scans are part of that grift. So you know he's not scanning the tornadoes. We know that. He's doing something else entirely.
Yeah,
you think he's scanning other things?
Yes,
I think he's beating off. No, I think he's just beating off.
I think he's
to
beating
the
off
footage.
too.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
All right.
We got
All
there.
right.
Thank you.
And then what happens is she realizes she's working for the bad guy. She's like, me, and runs off, goes to her non-Helen Hunt mom. It was so clear. They give her a Thanos reveal. She comes out of the shadows, the mom.
Yeah.
And I was like, this feels like they were down to the wire. Like if Helen Hunt ever wants to step in, we're ready for her. But
we can CG, but we have to shoot. Yeah. we have to shoot these scenes last.
Yeah. Glenn Powell cares. And he's like, you think you can disrupt a tornado? You want a chance or whatever? It's a better line than that.
And
so they go back and they
fears is the line that I think will live forever.
And if
ride
you feel
your
it,
fears.
chase it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she ends up taking these barrels out and doing it once more as an F5 is barreling on this town, and she ends up driving. I liked this. I liked that Glenn Powell ended up not mattering. I like that she's the protagonist.
She just did it
because she ends up driving out into the F5.
You like that?
She keeps stealing trucks.
That was so dumb and trivializing. Why?
I liked that she got to, because it's better for her character, right? Because Glenn Powell's arc is that he's the star. He hates he wants to be in the spotlight. And so he steps back. There's the whole thing with the reporter where the reporter is interested in her and he gets mad.
I'm going to go ahead and argue.
Like, hey.
I'm going to go ahead and argue a better. See, I thought Glenn Powell's character, the screenwriter, just dropped him off at the side of the road about 2/3 of the way through this movie. Did not care. I thought it would have been more.
That's his arc.
Well, I think it would have been more interesting if he'd had to learn to actually care about people. You know what I mean? Instead of trivializing tornadoes. But they just miracled that. That was a huge problem, I thought, with this movie.
I think the problem is he already cares about people.
I agree.
They wanted him to be a good guy. He's not Carrie Elways. It's like a Carrie Elways fake out, right? Because he has a punch face. He has the punchable face.
He's Paxton.
I just think it would have been a better movie if they'd embraced who he was, really. You know what I mean? Why does that guy, if he cares about people and he's a meteorologist, why does he shoot fucking fireworks into a tornado for YouTube? A thing that, by the way, you can't see on YouTube. You could not see that.
Oh, you see it.
Right.
I love it. You're such.
They got cameras and everything. I buy
Inside
that. I
the
don't
car.
have a problem with that. They have drones. They got drones.
So drones are good for
By the way,
that photography. But not,
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I don't want to pick this movie apart.
There are actual trucks that will drill down for a tornado. That's a thing.
I was going to talk about. I actually am in the middle of working with a friend who's trying to make this real life documentary about this subject.
Ooh.
Yes, he's got a whole
So
pitch
that's
tape and everything. It's awesome. Anyway, but I don't want to derail that. But yes, that's a thing.
So it's all to say that at the end, she drives the truck in, drills it down. Her diaper powder works. They solve their we have to make the air moist and then dry. Sure, whatever. So they have to put 2 powders instead of 1. And then she saves the entire town who's huddled in a movie theater. And that's cool, but I just want to compare that to the first Twister, where it's you can't really beat the idea that they get their data and then it's 2 people, no car, and there's a F5 coming at them. And I know it's unrealistic, but that is way higher stakes. Even though
also they
technically
flip
more
180
lives,
degrees. It just is more cinematic, that ending, right?
Yeah, 2 people just nakedly running from a F5, being we have to find some way to survive this. And they're and I know it's they find the pipes because the screenwriter made the pipes exist. And it's, they would die. They would die in that situation.
Absolutely.
But the stakes are so much more higher in the end than she drives a truck in, drills it down, dissipates the tornado as it's coming towards, and everybody's almost getting sucked off. That actually felt like a midpoint thing to happen.
Right. Tornado evaporating?
Yeah, and that setup. That setup where it's you compare that to just 2 people in the middle of a field having to run from a F5. That is such higher stakes to me.
I have an additional note on this. I found that this problem extended to other parts of the film, because they did this thing where you could blast the diaper sand from inside the car, And one of the key parts of, especially of her arc throughout, is that she was, like you were saying, naked outside in a tornado, like with no place to be, and a car is safety. They made it so like protected, and the car was so badass that the problem was that we never got her ever truly doing that, except for that one beat again where they go in the pool. That didn't feel like a resolution to her initial arc, which was the fear of, like her losing all of her friends and being in the middle of a tornado. So even though it was very like character centric and we went through the arcs of what these people were doing, it wasn't really like satisfying that arc because we got a beat split up between two different scenes.
The pool feels like the higher stakes. I think the moment I saw those cars, I assumed they're gonna be without those cars soon enough.
Yeah, me too.
And they never did, and that's what it's like. If Jurassic Park, they just never left the cars. Like you have to up the stakes, and it was weird that they didn't up the stakes because they set up these cars that are invincible, and then they're like, and then that's it. We'll stay in the car, and the car in an F. They have a line where I know they were worried because they have a line where he says like, "Oh yeah, this baby's primed for an F1. Anything more, it'll struggle." But like,
then they drill right into an F5, and it's basically a tornado tank. I was gonna say, I think the movie wants you to care more about stopping tornadoes than anyone could care, because the fun of it is seeing a tornado destroy stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, well, I don't want it to go exactly. It's a problem.
I feel like
you're sick. You're a sick man.
I guess.
I think you're. I think they honestly in the first Twister they probably were like, let's make the protagonist like stop a tornado, and then they're like, but then there's a tornado. Yeah. So what else can we have them do? Let's have them put a bunch of bullshit beads up in there, and then that's like a victory, but we still get a tornado.
Yeah. Well, I also think the first movie never left the idea that a twister is an impossible force that will destroy everything. Yeah, like the best you can do is learn about it. You can't stop it, and that you felt that.
Right.
Also like, and I know this is dumb, but like it really matters. Twister was an amazing movie at the time because you couldn't shoot a tornado until that movie. So like CG finally got good enough that you could see a tornado. Like that just wasn't in a movie really before that.
That was exciting. Yeah.
I will say there was only one shot in this movie that I said that's too much, because we're in the age where you can make anything.
Right.
And I thought they hid the tornado enough. They knew that one of the most effective things about the first movie was that they treated the tornado like the shark from Jaws.
Yes.
Where it was like in the dark or it was in the rain. And they actually, it felt like they hid the tornado more in this one a lot of the time.
Especially the first one.
I liked how they...
I did like
because
that.
They needed to have an F5 be the final boss. But they started the movie with an F5, an EF5, so they're like, well, we got to hide it. You know what I mean? It's got to be covered in fog and shit, so you don't really see it. That was the...
I liked that.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed about how they shot it. I think the first Twister did that better, right? When they're like in the bunker and the idiot dad gets sucked off.
Yeah.
But like...
Well, I mean,
I liked the concept.
I just think it's one of those things like they could make an amazing Casablanca 2 that's in 2024 with interesting things, but you've seen Casablanca already. I think it's the same problem here. It's like you can't... The genie's out of the bottle in terms of the one time a Twister movie is going to kick your ass because of like, holy shit, tornadoes. That is gone, and Twister lived and fed on that. So now... A lot of these beats aren't going to work as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I guess what I mean is like the... Oh, no, you go.
Well, I was just going to cap that by saying that's why I think successful movies do not need sequels, and that's...
Yeah, it's a problem. You know?
Yeah, but that's just my particular taste, you know?
This definitely started with someone going, hey, we haven't done a Twister sequel. And then they went from there, right? It didn't start from someone going, I have a great idea for a sequel.
No.
It started with them going, we better make a sequel. Let's put out feelers.
This movie felt definitely felt like a boardroom movie in so many ways. Like the way they were really devoted to plot structures that weren't important in Twister. Like, I liked them, but they weren't important. Like, I think the love triangle is like not important to a tornado movie, but they really needed to have it.
But they wanted that vibe.
And just a lot of things like that. Also, you could tell it was a boardroom movie because every scientific thing was explained at least twice. They had at least two monologues
they were like,
explaining it.
yeah,
It was really
there
bad.
was a producer mindset for sure.
100%.
Like, I find that like it even gets into the set pieces where it's like random details that don't matter. Stuff like the finale had to happen in a movie theater because in the first movie there was a drive-in movie theater, so they were like, we gotta have it where the tornado eats a fucking screen, right?
It's very silly.
And it's like, why? There's so much shit to... Whatever.
I have a conspiracy theory about that.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Universal has a Twister ride, or it did for a while. And I think that ride was very complicated. They also they got rid of Terminator the ride, which was a theater ride. You know those 3D rides that when they have like an auditorium. And they replaced it with some fucking like Minions or some garbage. I think they're thinking ahead, and I think there's a point now where certain movies like the Star Wars movies I think are generating more wealth for Disney as theme parks than as
vertically
movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Experiences,
and
absolutely.
I think they're thinking where they're like, okay, well, we can do a 3D Twister ride.
I think they're right.
Where can it be set? In a theater, getting attacked by...
I think that's where blockbusters naturally will go. It's inevitable at this point.
I think living through a tornado is an interesting entertainment experience if people know it's safe. You know what I mean? I completely understand the thinking there. It just kind of sucks for... Like, it just means we have such a limited exploration of what is interesting about tornadoes because of that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many other things we could do.
It's this. Is there though?
Yeah,
that's the issue. Which is like, what is there to a tornado?
Are you saying
sucks you off?
They're intrinsically boring, Dave?
Why for are you tornado?
No, it's like a tsunami where it's like, what does a tsunami do? It crashes and everybody runs.
Okay, you're gonna hate this, and this is very silly. It's more silly than Twisters.
I'm trying to understand what his point is.
My point?
Yeah.
No,
Dave. I don't know what that meant.
No, it's Twister 3. What if there's somebody trying to learn how to start tornadoes, Dave? You know what I mean? Like, just learn how to start them. Okay, it goes over. It goes over a glass shard factory. Suddenly, you got yourself a weapon of mass destruction, Dave.
I feel like you can.
They're letting this shit go, they're letting it go in the Sudan or something. You know, like they're sort of testing it.
Tornado origins.
I love it.
No, make it take place ancient times, and the ending is, and that's how we got tornadoes.
Yeah, that's how.
Like
it's a science myth.
They were summoned. Like, what do you mean? That's how we got tornadoes.
Twister's origins.
It's a cursed box.
It's like some Egyptian pharaoh or like scientist. Leonardo da Vinci made tornadoes.
No, it's a little known fact. Julius Caesar, in order to attain the emperorship of Rome, made a dark deal with Poseidon. You know what I mean?
I mean, this is a great idea.
Poseidon, father of the wind. I guess you're right, though. That is true. Because the waves make wind, right?
No, I'm making a bullshit.
I don't know how it works. I'm sure wind could exist without waves.
This is my first draft, Dave. I'll get a better draft. Yeah.
And last draft, no, we made it.
Yeah,
the Green
Light Twisters 3, which by the way is just Twister with a 3 instead of the E. That's Twister 3. We're doing it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Twister
dope.
Origins.
I want to. Because
you know how Twisters have like claws.
Are you tired of this bit, Dave? Because I was going to do 20 minutes. Are you tired of it, Dave?
Yeah. Dave, what were you saying about tsunamis? I'm trying to figure out what was going on.
Because what I'm saying is when you say you can do a lot with a natural disaster, I just like, unless you make them campy, unless you make Sharknado, Twisters, tornadoes, and tsunamis, they generally, like when we're talking about physics and stuff, they do the same thing. So scene by scene, it feels like it's really hard to write a different thing that'll happen. I was writing a volcano film for these producers, and I ran into this issue because you watch all the old movies and you're like, okay, so you have lava, there's always one explosion, you know, like the Mount St. Helens style, and you have to sit there and you go like, okay, well, what is something interesting that people haven't seen?
You got 3 things already.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. With a tornado, it's like it's different sizes. So do you start with the small
That's
one?
true.
They get bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you can have twins. They got twins, but in that one,
They
don't
apparently
do
orbit
shit.
each other like a small planet. By the way, a thing I didn't
awesome.
know
Yeah.
tornadoes could do that. But
And one of them has to eat the
yeah,
brother.
only one can
Like,
live.
it-
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a real,
Like regular twins.
yeah, it's a real twin conundrum. Yeah,
Yeah.
And so like, it's all to say that it's hard to think of like how could you make a tornado
It's
a
true.
Twister sequel, and that's why you just don't make a Twister sequel. But
I mean, I feel like Roland Emmerich
you're
could have
gonna-
done something.
But here we are.
Like, I feel like Roland Emmerich could
Yeah.
have been like Twisters, but they're coming to Los Angeles.
so
You
Well,
know,
he
here's
did
the thing.
that.
I
He
think
absolutely
saw
did
this.
that already.
Yes, I saw it.
tornadoes are not big enough for Emmerich. That's the problem with Emmerich, in my opinion.
So
he
that-
needs
yeah.
world crushing
Yeah, space tornado.
That he literally threw the moon.
But there is a very
at
funny
us.
sequence of lines, by the way, where it's in the very first sequence where they're sending the sensors up the funnel, and they keep talking about how high the sensors are going. And at a certain point, it's like 70,000 feet, and I was like, "Is this going to be a space tornado? Are we going to
Yeah,
go
that'd
all
be
the way
so
to
good.
space?"
That's like up to planes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So-
that's what I wanted to happen with
That
space
is-
tornado, Dave, which also solves your problem. I'm solving all your problems, Dave.
I really do think it is location. That is really the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
Because there is a moment in this movie that fakes us out that I was really mad they didn't jump on, where when they go to her, she's at those New York, all the cucks in New York, the weather cucks,
Yeah.
who are just watching the weather.
Just with the computers.
yeah, they're at a
Yeah.
weather switchboard.
They're like the Wall Street of
Yeah.
of weather.
It was so
Yes,
funny to me
they-
looking at her in that outfit after she left, and it was like, so she joined Wall Street, like after
Yeah,
her
such a
friends died, so
bummer.
she went after the stock market.
I've never seen a
be
suit be
amazing.
such a bummer.
But they do a tour. There's kids touring, and the kid goes like, "Oh, what's the?" And they're just introducing the concept of the F5 and the F1.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And they say, "Has there ever been a tornado in New York?" And they're like, "Yeah, a few years ago there was an F2." And I thought, "Oh, are we
Yeah.
gonna
Are we lost
world
worlding
this?
this? Yes, lost
Yeah.
Is
worlding.
it, yeah, is in the third act they'd be like, we got to go to New
Yeah.
York, and all the
Yeah.
country boys have to go to New York, and like, or like they could have done it at least in like a city like Nashville or something.
Yeah.
You know,
Dave-
like do it somewhere.
You know the answer to this. The answer to this is everything Jason has done, a tornado can do. Like that is how you make this a
Right, Jason
franchise
Voorhees, yeah.
forever. Yeah,
That's true.
Go to
Yeah,
space.
go to hell. Tornado comes back from hell.
I think the problem is they still have this reverence for like victims of tornadoes, and they need to need to separate their emotions because I think they want to make they're stuck in this place where they're like, are these serious? Like, are these serious tornado films, or are we going to go over the top?
They have to make them
and
a
they're
little serious.
kind of trying to do both.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
They're kind of. That's what I'm saying.
have to make 'em a
They're
little
too many
serious.
things. I mean, they had a good one this time, which they're like, you know how we like evaluate tornadoes. It's not by their wind speed; it's by the damage they do, and you
That's a
need
good
to
line.
stop. You need to stop like giving
How
this
much
F5
damage you
more.
gonna? Yeah,
Yeah,
how much
I
more
forget the
damage
line.
It's gonna cause.
It's
There's a
but
lot of
it's-
lines. There's a lot
There's
of
a lot of
lines.
lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was like the heart. That's like they actually went
Glenn
for
Powell's
that as
full
the
of
heart,
them.
as opposed to the relationship. And I don't know if you were on Twitter yesterday, but there was a video released of a very saucy kiss between
I
the
was
two
wondering
of them.
about that.
Huh?
They shot it, and
Okay,
it
yeah.
and it's like TikTok video of them kissing, and I have to say. It is an incredible kiss.
Dang.
Like it is.
I don't-
Like I'm not
I
to
don't
put
know
on
why
my
they cut it.
MTV best kiss hat, but I am voting for
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
And it's not in the. They cut it out of the movie.
I don't know why they cut it. It's like it was like Disney hiding a gay couple. Like that's what it felt like.
kinda
Where it
felt
was
like
like,
that,
why
yeah.
are we scared of these two people kissing?
This is clearly a romance.
Like have them
Look
kiss.
how he's acting.
Yeah, it's
They're
clearly
so from the jump.
zero
They are flirting
penetration.
like crazy.
Oh, it's hot and heavy, and they're great. It's great, and I was like,
He
fucking
meets
kiss.
her mother.
At the end. Yeah, at the end they're like at the airport. She goes, "If you feel it, chase it." And it's like, oh shit!
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Shit.
And then he
And then he
he-
just pounds the ground with his car.
does.
Yeah.
And he
And then they like hold hands and go steady. It was like, what the fuck is this?
it's fucking.
It's not even that committed that they're together
weird.
at the end. Like, it's a little ambiguous.
It's
I
the
think
desexualization of Hollywood. That's what we're getting. That it's because it's 4 quadrant and it's also just pleasing as many people as possible. And they're like, well, if they'll piss someone off, I don't know.
I think
such a vocal minority that it's just like, who cares
Agreed.
at this point?
I think Hollywood. I think it's an executive overestimating these like articles of like
also true.
the new generation. Are they sexless? And it's like, no, they're not.
No,
they're fine. Just put the kissing in it. It's fucking fine. Jesus Christ.
Give us the movie
Jesus
experience.
Christ.
What, are you kidding? Like, it was stupid.
It's like, I don't need to see the kiss. It's just weird that it wasn't
Agreed.
there. Is just
it
the
was
natural
louder.
progression of story is really, I guess, what I care about. I
No,
don't
I
know
think you
why
care
I
about kiss.
care about
Abe,
talking
you
about
care.
this. Is like,
Abe. Abe.
they're very attractive.
Yes.
I knew it in my heart as I was
really
watching it.
are.
I was like, Abe is...
Breast text.
When I was
baby.
watching it, I was like, Abe is loving this. I felt it in my heart.
Breast
These are
text. I need to feel horny when I look at these tornadoes. God damn it. That's funny.
They were smoking
That's funny.
honkies.
Who cares?
They really were.
I just let them. I do want to. I want to talk about one thing. I think one thing this movie used their special effects for that I liked is they do suck off way more people in this.
I want to
and,
talk
like-
about this too. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, a lot of
I don't
murders.
think it's always so. My gripe with the beginning is that I actually thought it was too explicit, and what I mean is that like. I like the moment where like Sally Draper is scrambling up and you see the fear in her eyes and then she gets sucked off and it's
Yeah, it
so
was
weird to watch someone just be gone like that. It's freaky. But I do think for the beginning they like kind of blow their load immediately. Like I think when her boyfriend's holding her, I think that would have been way more effective if suddenly he just wasn't there and she didn't even know when it happened.
Yeah, I thought they were
it
going to
would've
do
been
another
creepier.
moment that was going to be true. There was.
Yeah.
I don't know. Keep going.
No, but it was just like I think they kind of screwed that up a few times where it was just like right away you just see them go whoop and they're gone and it's very explicit. It is a haunting thing to see and I think they did it really well more later than in that first sequence, like when the guy in the pool is like, "Oh, let me die," and then he just goes shoop, and you're just like, "Fuck, man, that's intense." This was very 90s. I like the guys in the hotel who are like, "We're assholes. Look at us.
I
We
love
deserve
those
to
people.
die." That was very 90s.
There's no tornado is
Yeah.
also fucking hilarious.
A tornado. What was that?
So clearly a tornado. I love those people who are just dumb, like who just show
was
up as
like-
NPCs who are the worst, and then they die.
And then they die.
Sent
And
into
then
eternity.
Again, it's very 90s to be like, it's okay. They were slightly annoying. They deserved it.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
That's basically
They
the
were-
biggest crime of being in Twister.
Also,
if you're annoying,
they
you're
were
getting
wrong
fucked.
and mean about it.
Yeah.
See, here's two things. One, I thought there was a brilliant moment that I was about to like start clapping in the theater, but they didn't do it, which is when they were on the pipes. Do you remember that the camera kind of moves and obscures the woman and her child
You think
for
they
a
were
brief
going to be
moment?
gone? Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant for building up suspense, and I was like, are they going to do it though? Are they going to pivot back and they're just gone? Because that would be fucking excellent. And they didn't.
I wish they did that more.
I wish they did the stakes in a real way like that, rather than what I think the movie actually created its own problem. And the second thing I wanted to say is, especially in that sequence, but overall in the whole movie, I am very unclear of how tornado physics work.
Agreed.
And it really was revealed in that scene
Suck
where
you
it's
off.
like, if you stand up slightly, then the tornado takes you, but you're safe down here, and stuff like that.
fire
Where
rules.
it's just like
It's fire rules.
they're making too many rules about the. Also, cars are just ripped out of. Like, it just willy-nilly. Just some cars are, other cars are fine.
If you have a soul,
even though they're right next to each
you have
other.
a
And I know that wind is invisible and it has its currents or whatever, but it just felt very like writer kind of just writing what they wanted and didn't feel organic, and that bothered me.
if you have a soul, a tornado has to really try harder to suck you up into the vortex. See, cars don't have a soul, so they, even though they weigh 20 times what a human weighs, they're easily just ripped up off the earth and sent into oblivion. But a person...
But people are fine.
Yeah.
And
the
flimsy
original Twister
signs
had
make
those
it.
moments.
What's that?
Yeah.
The original Twister had moments like that. Obviously, the most famously is them on the pipes, where they're
strapped
completely fine.
Leather strapped
Yeah,
in.
they're strapped in.
Leather strapped.
They're not a cut on them.
Well, that's the
No
other thing.
torn clothes.
So, like, that's the crazy thing that's never been explored in a Twister yet, is that, like, that tornadoes can send things forward with such speed that they can, like, literally, like, a blade of grass can pierce a tree and shit. Like, you know what I mean? That stuff you don't see in these movies. And, you know, it's because it's PG-13, but that's probably where it could go. To be crazy.
I mean, the closest was when they got in the shed in the first one, and it was all a bunch of knives, you know, and they were like, "We got to get out of here."
Where the guy gets
the hubcap
fucking...
does that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but it's true that that's one of the more terrifying aspects. Is just like the thunk. It's just they do that with it throwing it back because we like the camera angle where, like, I don't know, a log like Final Destination goes through the windshield of a car. That's a very cinematic shot. Yeah, it has a lot of motion and, you know, gravity to it. But it would be interesting just to, like, from the side or anywhere else in frame, the tornado is just like, fuck you.
I also think, I mean, I know I'm a monster, but, like, look, if you want the tornado to be crazier, let them recover a human being that's been thrown somewhere. You know, like, it's such an obvious thing.
You want to see it. You want to see it.
I mean, you know.
So there are people who have been thrown by a tornado to live. And I think that might be, I know that's rare, but it's a fucking Twister movie. That might be interesting to add. Like, do it at like a medieval times, and a guy dressed as a knight is like armored enough that like the things just ping off of them. Like, I do agree, like a little bit of a grislier tornado movie, maybe not Twister, but like you could do a more like a horror movie. You could do like a really grisly version.
This movie's pretty.
I don't know how much people want to see that.
Pretty close to a horror movie.
They dip their toes into it.
Yeah. They almost. It felt like the director would have felt more at home making a horror movie out of this in some ways.
Yeah.
You know, like basically all the action sequences devolve into horror beats at one point or the other.
Were there any? Was the pool a oneer scene?
There was a long oneer. Well,
there was a long oneer at the end, but when they stand up, it cuts. So,
because I do think another thing this was missing, and we keep sort of talking about it a little bit, which is that like I think that's why the beginning sequence they were obscuring the F5, and I was like, that's cool, and then they sort of show too much, but like a scene that really shows the panic. And really, like, it shows it from, like, you're in a basement or you're under something and, like, you can't, it's disorienting. Mm-hmm. And it's like you could do a oneer that way. I feel like that's what the pool was, sort of, but it wasn't enough.
It was
like, we're talking about little tricks, like
there
the
was
idea
no
of the camera, like, people just vanishing without seeing them.
Yeah.
Like, I think there could have been a more effective way to shoot, and some of these scenes could have been way more terrifying.
I think,
like, again, under the underpass would have been scarier. The what?
The finale was a fumble too. We kind of already mentioned it. The finale was a fumble. Yeah, and I think it's, look at the similarity between those two moments that are supposed to be like huge set piece moments. You're obscured by the pool. You just see concrete, and then you are inside a movie theater, so there's walls. Right. Both of those spaces do not have depth. The type of depth that is, they're flat spaces that are contained. Right. And one of the feelings about Twister is like the worst stakes you can possibly be in a tornado is there's nothing around you. You have nowhere shelter to go.
Yeah, you're at the mercy of this thing.
Again, that's why the ending of the first one is better, because also I think it takes something away from cutting back and forth from two people doing something, because they keep cutting from the theater to her running out, and you sort of know, like, oh, okay, it's not going to get them. It's not going to get them. She's going to save that. She's going to dissipate it. But, like, you know, you go back to that first sequence, it felt like it was in real time. It was just following Helen Hunt and the Paxter. And, like, I don't know. There's just more. There's more to that, where it's just following two people trying to solve this very basic and terrifying problem of like, where do we go right now? that's more of a nightmare to me,
Yeah.
than like they treated it almost like this action sequence going back and forth of like, meanwhile, she's doing this and then they're doing this. And the game. The game is they just have to hold out a little bit longer so she can save the day,
Right. Yeah. There could have been a better game there too. I think it might have to deal with the CG. They want a CG fest, and you need objects and particles in space. I think that's let's make buildings.
I believe that the people who made this movie thought the most important thing is to see as much of the tornado as possible and for it to look great. And everything is built around that. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the reason that Twister existed.
By the way,
anyone could have made the Signs version of Twister. Anyone could make that.
Yeah.
But that's not...
M. Night Shyamalan should. He should make a Twister movie.
Actually, I think I agree
From the mind,
with that.
from the twisted world
Twisted
of M.
mind
Night
of
Shyamalan.
Yeah, dude.
It's a twist. It's a plot twist. The
ultimate
twist.
That's great.
It's the same plot.
twisted.
They got to throw water into the alien / tornado anyway.
That way it collapses.
I'm going. I feel like I went back and forth to saying I liked how this was shot and it needed some things. Because I will say it's more that I was satisfied that it didn't get too stupid. Like there was only one shot that like the camera like flew up into the tornado and showed us like the clouds, and I was like, that is a gratuitous shot. I felt like it was mostly shot from like the perspective of the people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like maybe the bar is low here, but I was happy that they didn't like do too many like crazy. We're gonna zoom through a tornado and like ruin.
They
and
could have gone crazy,
It could
and
have
I'm
gone
kind of
worse.
glad they didn't. I mean that's the kind of because the director did Minari, right? So like keeping it grounded and character based actually. Like that is what the director's bag is,
That is also
so that
we're not interested enough in being inside a tornado that we want some cool ass drone shot. You know what I mean? Or some unhinged wide angle lens.
I may actually be in the minority here. I actually think that like when in the first one when we they get lifted up and it's the finale, it's the F5 and there's like that funnel inside the funnel. Yeah, and there's like there's fucking lightning
It was a great
going
idea.
crazy.
Great idea.
It's
Because
beautiful and
there's a
cool. I
mystery
think we could have
box.
done
They're
something cool with it. It would have been gratuitous, but like do one really good one. I'm,
they had that
happy
again
with that.
in this movie.
That's
kind of.
That's the weird. All right, so that's the weird thing because I remember as a kid in Twister, this like idea in your head where you're like, no one's ever seen inside a tornado and lived to tell about it. I don't even know if that was true at the time. And that was the big reveal. Is like seeing inside the tornado was like the big satisfying reveal.
Looking at the face
like
of
this,
God.
Yeah, and Helen Hunt, who hates tornadoes, having this like moment with a tornado was really cool. In this one, I feel like we've gotten to a point where it's like people have put GoPros on the ground and we can see fucking all day into a tornado. It's lost its mysteriousness. So it's like, what do you do next? And they did have a shot of showing it from like the sky looking down, which I was like, that's
cool.
neat. I'm sure astronauts have seen that. Where it's like there's no more mystery to a tornado. That they could really reveal.
You look
know what I mean?
inside tornadoes all the time, Dave? Is that a thing you're up to?
Yeah.
Astronauts can, but that's why I think like if someone wore like an armored outfit and they had someone like fly around in one or something,
you want
be real dumb.
You in your medieval Twister movie.
But
it's not going to work.
Where they're like majestically flying around.
It would pulverize you.
Yeah, that would be...
The spins is the problem.
That would be a hard switch.
That would have pulverized.
It's not necessarily the debris. You are torn apart. Your bones.
Yeah.
I'm not saying in real life. I'm saying in the rules of the Twister universe, the Twister verse, where apparently you can just strap yourself to some pipes and you're fine. Have someone have like a cushion night outfit, and they like have one of these people. Their whole dream is to ride a tornado.
Yeah,
like he was a rodeo fucking
do Hurt
freak.
Locker.
Have him want to ride a tornado.
Hurt Locker, but for tornadoes, right? Like the guy puts on a suit and he's like, it's time to walk into the tornado.
Yeah, he's got a glider and everything.
Glenn Powell's arc could be he wants to ride a tornado.
He's riding a
he
sphere.
could surf it. He could surf it if he had like some kind of like board.
Yeah.
Some kind of wind board.
Fuck it.
And or like some kind of air horse.
An air horse. Twister 2, air horse.
Twister 3, Origins, and we find out
Origins.
that the man who
Twister 4
invented it
air
also had an
horse.
air horse.
He has an air horse.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you could give Twister 4 air horse.
Yeah. Twister, yeah.
Twister Force.
Yeah, Twister Force.
Like 4 and horse.
Force of nature. Horse of nature.
Horse of nature. Oh, shit.
Oh, fuck.
We did it.
I'm
sign
taking
us up.
10%.
Sign us up for the Twister team.
Team Twister over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen,
Yeah,
I enjoyed this movie.
It was fine.
I know
what
we're
it is.
bitching about it, but it's a Twister sequel. Like I said, the bar was incredibly low for this movie, and I think they surpassed that bar. And then
I agree. Yeah, almost all of my problems with it are ones that I lob at most blockbusters these days anyway. So it's more of me being out of touch with what, blockbusters are and story-wise what they go for and why they go for it. It doesn't feel as authentic as Twister, for example, but they are still amazing rides that you can take for an afternoon and support movies go to movies.
It helped to have little kids in the audience loving it.
It's nice to see that. I went on Saturday, so I got to see a lot of people, and it was kind of awesome that people were very excited about some moments that I was like, oh, I didn't think that would get you. All right, cool.
Yeah. And Gwyneth Powell, the Glip, as we call him, that's his Hollywood name. The Glip, like he has like 90s blockbuster all over him. He's perfect. He's perfect for this shit.
Yeah, he's perfect for this shit. Not only is he chiseled and a little bit of eye candy for everybody, honestly, it's like he harkens back to some older 90s. I know that we were talking recently about how he's kind of a Kevin Costner.
Really?
In terms of, because if you see that Hitman?
No.
Okay. He wrote that with Richard Linklater, right?
Was it good?
It's all right. It's a lot. I'm not going to get into it now. But what's crazy about it is that he knew to write a vehicle for himself where he could do like a bunch of different characters, but they were restrained, and that's fun. He's restrained enough to know what his capabilities are and where his range is. And self-awareness of that range makes you like a Kevin Costner, because Kevin Costner knew what he could get away with and what he wanted to do and what he excelled at, right? He also he's very limited, I would argue, is in some of those films because he chose these rom-com, Prince of Thieves kind of things. I think Glenn Powell is going to have a great career like that, where he takes the right roles because he seems to have a very acute self-awareness.
Yes. All right.
So,
Adam's internet died, and I'm gonna use this moment to keep talking about Glenn Powell.
Yeah, I think so.
Until he returns.
Please drip it on me.
For people wondering, for people listening, being like, wow, Adam has no opinions
Adam's quiet.
on Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's defying a really serious condition, which is jerk face.
Yeah.
Like he was born with jerk face. And he's sort of doing this strategic thing because he knows he has jerk face. And I think that's why he's friends with Tom Cruise, because we don't think about this, but Tom Cruise was born with jerk face.
Yes,
he was afflicted with jerk face. And you look at his early career, he used that. He was in like The Color of Money, one of my favorite Tom Cruise roles, where he plays a jerk.
Yeah.
And then he would show up as a jerk every now and then. Still later in his career, when Thomas Cruise had the Oprah problem, he reset and he went on Tropic Thunder and he played a jerk.
He played a jerk. He's like, I'll give you what you want, which is to see me as you expect me.
Yes. Glenn Powell starts in Top Gun. Well, it didn't start, but he that's when he started, where he got like when he started blowing up, right? Because of Top Gun Maverick, and he has specifically jerk pilot face, and that worked really well because he was playing a jerk in that.
Yeah.
And then he did that other jerk pilot movie. I forget that one.
Yeah,
because it didn't blow up.
Yeah. It was War Times.
And then it's like, okay, make him like this, a Bill Paxton. That's also a jerk face role. Bill Paxton is a man who is afflicted with jerk face.
Yep.
And so Bill Paxton also made that work for him by playing kind of a jerk in things, you know,
True
early
Lies
on.
And
He was
T2,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I'm a street punk, you know, like in the first Terminator.
And he's whiny and Aliens, you know, like it's all about like playing to the like, that guy sucks, you know, and he's dipping into it.
Yeah. And you just slowly introduce, you say, okay, I'm jerk face, but you know, it's like, I like me. And this one's perfect for that. Is that like, it starts with he's a jerk face, but then he's got a heart of gold. And once he establishes himself more and more, we're going to see that jerk face, and we're going to say it's just regular face, you know?
Yep, it's just regular face now because we're so familiar with your face.
I got sucked off. Sucked off. So you guys were talking about Glenn Powell. He was very handsome, which I almost screamed as I was being hurled into the oblivion.
Yeah, we're talking about how he's kind of like a new form of, like, he's got a self-awareness about him, about his jerk face, and about like what roles he's choosing, and he's gonna have an interesting career, I think.
I think he's a star. I think he's a legit star.
Yeah. I think he's a star.
Yeah. I agree.
I think he's making the jerk face work really well. I think it's that we were talking about how Tom Cruise was also afflicted with JF and Bill Paxton. Like I think there's been like telethons about jerk face, right? Like have we found a cure yet? I don't think we've found a cure for jerk face.
Glasses don't even work.
Chris Evans had a little jerk face, but he kind of overcame it early. He was like light jerk face.
I mean, Fantastic Four, he was full on jerk face.
Not another teen movie.
Scott Pilgrim.
Not another teen movie.
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
He played jerkface in that.
And again, he Knives Out. He's made his jerk face work for him, but he's also overcame it with Captain America.
Yeah.
Really, where you're like, yeah, I guess it is also hero face, you know?
Well,
it's
hero
face
too. Too handsome face. It's America face.
With action movies, we're actually a little bit more open-minded. You know, like Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger are both easily movie villains in an alternate universe.
Oh yeah,
you know, like easily.
If I were Glenn Powell, you know what I would do right now? Next, I would do a Shane Black film. Yeah. I would do a quirky Shane Black crime film because, like, it's good for like anti-heroes shit. Like, you could turn your jerk face into anti-hero and then into hero. You know? And then you stop thinking about it.
Give me a self-awareness about it and splay it in front of me. Show me how much you know you're, like a jerk face, and also how you can overcome it.
I think he probably has a good agent. I feel like they get that talk with their agent that's like, listen, you have jerk face. You have JF.
I think
he's
got
5-point plan.
I think he's a Val Kilmer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's
Val
even
Kilmer
really...
had that as well.
Yeah, and if Val Kilmer had been in a more interesting movie than The Saint, it'd have been his Mission Impossible.
Right.
You know?
You take that
Well, he
back.
was afflicted with jerk brain, Val Kilmer. Like Val Kilmer.
Tell that to his German guy impression in The Saint, Dave. Tell it right to his face.
That's fair.
To that German guy he's doing.
I just don't like
where
Glenn
this
Powell
podcast is going. I'm sorry. I just want to.
I'm just happy that Glenn Powell he's not just a star, he's 90s. Like, between this and Maverick.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like I'm getting that feeling that we're finally saying, like, you know what? The 90s was the best time for blockbusters. And I know it'll never be the same, but I hope this film does all the money in the world. Like, I just need people to start realizing I don't know if this is true. That's the thing, is maybe it's just because I'm old and I want it to be true, but I want Hollywood to suddenly go like, okay, enough. We're done with superheroes. Let's do 90s action again. Because I really do. And again, I am very biased because I was like 10. I was at the right age, perfect age. But 90s blockbusters really were some of the best fucking era of blockbusters for big budget.
They were more diverse for sure.
Yes.
Because
And
now
they just
all we
felt-
do is like Golden Fleece films, right? Where
Yeah.
it's just like
Right.
get
Lots
the
of
team
epic
together.
myth, Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that's all we make now, it seems like. And
Right.
you know, there's other, I think, and
There's other story types to tell
there's
in
other,
a blockbuster context.
exactly. And some,
Yeah.
and it feels like even though, Blockbuster is already admittedly a very limited range of types of movies to make. And we got even more like, here's the peak tip of the spear
Right.
that makes all the money. The Fringe, somewhat. Let's emphasize the fringe elements. We dissected Twister enough to know that there's major problems with it, but there are actual positive steps that make me go, "Oh, it's interesting." It's almost like they're trying different stuff. Which
I
I'm
had more fun
a fan
in
of.
this movie than I've had in any Marvel movie since Endgame.
It's so refreshing because again, in the 90s, I feel like the executives had a whiteboard, and they had a list which was like, what are big things? Aliens, tornadoes, tidal waves, hurricanes, volcanoes, like dinosaurs. Just like, what are all the big things? And then they sat there and they went like, all right, what movies can we make about these big things? And that list just got smaller and smaller, and now the list is just superheroes or it was for a while. And it's just nice to start seeing that list open up again. And like you said, Abe, it's very funny because they were already limited. Blockbusters were always a thing we're supposed to roll our eyes at, right? Like
Right.
they're always supposed to be stupid. It's just like I miss having more fun watching stupid films. And now it was just so nice. It was so refreshing to watch this movie.
It was refreshing. I think we are in the middle of an emergence. It's starting. It's already kind of been here. We also all enjoyed Bad Boys together. Bad Boys
sure
4.
did.
Yeah.
And
goodness.
that
As a family.
felt like a kind of digression from the because it is a comedy. That's another thing. Comedies aren't dead, but they don't really exist in mass like they used
Right.
to even 10 years ago. We decided comedy is something that we just isolate to the indie sector, like let the independent films take the comedies, and then every now and then Seth Rogen will do something or Will Ferrell will do
Right.
something. And it's just very interesting to me that they decided that we get to in this film do something other than like the all film. Like I'm gonna call the all film like Red Notice, right?
Right.
Like the
Love that title.
Netflix schlock.
Love it.
Like where it's just like, let's take people who aren't even comedians and they'll cover all the bases, because
Right.
we're covering all bases regardless. This movie knew what it was. It knew what its DNA was. It was unapologetic for all the set pieces that it aimed for. That is a problem, but also was kind of a welcome kind of break from what had already existed or in mass has been the thing that's existed, which is like reverence for shit that I don't even care about. One of the previews for this film was has been going around is like, what is it called? The Batista, the Hitman or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
We have like 80 Hitman films,
Yeah, we
by the
do.
way. But that film, like the trailer, it's like, you have cancer. Yeah, you got a daughter who doesn't know that you're a hitman. You're you're too old for this shit. It's like we threw so
All
many
the
tropes
things.
at it that it's just like I cannot have reverence or enjoy any of this because I don't know what to like hitch myself to, because this is
Right.
so many films in one. I don't know what you are. And I feel like that
Right.
we've really auto-corrected to that. So Twisters is like, and more specific, like Bad Boys and stuff like that. It's like, oh, you're a thing. You know what your DNA is.
Yeah, I also the word reverence came to mind here. I appreciate that this movie didn't feel like it had reverence for the old one as much as it was like. Don't get me wrong, it had references, but like I've been talking to Cody about how they've been treating the Ghostbusters movies, where like
Right.
everything is seen as like really precious and like, oh my god, they showed the thing. Like I was scared they're gonna have someone go like the suck zone, or like they were gonna try
Yeah.
like
The
I appreciate
extreme would have been
there was
perfect
still like
for that.
yeah. There was still like twins. Dorothy was there. I think it had the right amount. And so it's like, oh, there's Dorothy. Like we talked about how we all expected Helen Hunt to show up. I'm kind of glad she didn't.
Sure.
Like I'm glad that it is unrelated, where it's like they didn't feel a need to try to connect it in some intricate way or in some way. Like I have expected them to like mention those characters at least and talk about like how big their contributions were or like something. And like they didn't really do. Again, there was a lot of mirroring. There was a lot of like, I'm not saying it didn't have any. I just expected it to have way more.
I would argue that
in a way
I would argue it did do all those things. It's just that Twister isn't as iconic for all of its little structures, so you don't think about the fact that it imitated so many things from it.
I guess so, but neither is Ghostbusters.
It wasn't as
but
loud.
It was amazing.
Ghostbusters, I don't know if that's true. So, like, if they had put Helen Hunt in the Mara Tierney role, by the way, Mara Tierney's just a different 90s sitcom actress.
Right.
You know, like, it's like a pretty apparent choice.
Yeah, Mad About News Radio.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if they had done that, I feel like our radars would have been up more for like, oh, they really are aping so many things from this movie, because they do.
Yeah.
But it's like, kind of who cares? You know what I mean? Like, this movie isn't. I don't care enough about it that it doesn't that it's like fine if you want to imitate those tropes. It's been a very long time since I watched those tropes. It's not like Star Wars or Ghostbusters where I watched the film 100 times. You know?
You know what would have been great if they got Bonnie Hunt. So we all had to sit there and go like, wait, did they get confused?
Yeah,
did they get confused? Like just to troll us and like make us have to wonder, like, did they just get the wrong? Did they think it was Bonnie Hunt in that?
Did they not watch the movie? That's dumb.
Yeah.
That's a dumb joke.
It's a dumb joke.
It's a dumb joke. Here we are.
For a dumb movie.
It is. I made dumb jokes. I'm making them right now.
We like dumb jokes.
Yeah.
Are we done talking about Twisters?
I mean, I don't know if I'm ever truly done.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I don't know. Because this is a fascinating conversation. The one about like what the minutia of what's wrong with blockbusters and how can they be more successful for people like us, you know, middle-aged white guys.
You mean right, exactly. Well, you mean somebody who's seen all the blockbusters for 30 years.
That's right.
It's tough.
And who remember
them.
So here's I think it's actually two very simple things, and this doesn't exclude superheroes, and it's what makes this refreshing. One, it's not true, but I want them to at least pretend there are stakes. And what I mean by that is I feel like we got more and more sophisticated with that idea that superhero films, it's like, whatever, they're fine. They're never going to die. It's fine. Right. And so it's like, I need them to at least pretend like the main characters could die. I know they won't. They rarely do, but I need them to be humans. I think that's one of the things about Twisters that I like. And what we like about Jurassic Park and Independence Day, and whenever we think about, oh, it was so much better back then, a big part of it was that it was the little guy. It was the little guy facing a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
In both the good and the bad, it was just like, all right, well, like, let's start with the everyman. Let's start with people we can relate to. Yeah. And let's have them face something bigger than them. I think it's important to have posters where people are looking at awe while the thing is behind them. And you're like, why are you looking away from the tornado? It's fucking behind you.
It's behind you. That's where you should look.
What are you looking at? What's more important?
Dude, that actually is very. You're nailing something right now, dude. Like, because that is from a perspective. The poster is a metaphor of like how our posters have changed. Is really the focus of what the thing is now. We've abandoned the character perspective and gone to what's the best part of Jurassic Park. And I'm not going to argue that it's not the dinosaurs, right? But we have auto-corrected once again to that's all that mattered. That's all that made Jurassic Park work.
Right.
And, you know, you can argue that. I know I have some friends who'd be like, nah, fuck that. Let's just give me more dinosaurs. Make them a tank. Make them a tank dinosaur. And they are totally happy with that. That's fine. But I disagree.
I don't think that represents most people's feelings, though. Like we all watched the last Jurassic Park, and when I say we all, I mean Dave and I did, at least, and Tom, I believe, where they made a dinosaur into a vampire. Because
that wasn't the last one.
That was Fallen Kingdom. Was there one after that?
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Extinction?
Domination.
Whatever.
Dominion.
Oh no, I didn't even see that. Is it crazier? What
You
did they
guys
do
see
after
that?
that?
And what's got
Would
the
you
bees,
believe
right?
that the main villain is locusts? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The
locusts.
the last of the 3-part, they were like, it's locusts, and it's like, oh, you mean
It's
the things you
bugs.
didn't establish in any of the other movies that we don't care about?
Yeah, they like gave up on
Locusts?
dinosaurs. They were
Yeah,
like,
they gave up.
We've done it all.
I know why, because some executive was like, people don't like dinosaurs being the bad guys, and it's like that's the only thing we like, because that's a different podcast, but those
Yeah, I
movies
know.
kept trying to make the dinosaurs good, right? That was the whole thing, and so they're like, we need another bad guy. Let's get locusts.
Bugs. Everyone
fucking
hates
locusts.
bugs, right?
Yeah.
I
those
don't.
Godzilla
I'm very
vs. Kong
upset
films.
right now. That's Fallen Kingdom
You gotta
was
watch it.
deeply offensive to me.
Like it felt like
yeah.
a nail in a coffin, right?
Yeah, like Fallen
They
Kingdom was
put
like,
another nail.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why? No wonder we're only getting Marvel movies. No one knows how to make
Yeah.
anything but a Marvel movie during the
yeah.
summer anymore.
Right.
I think Marvel screwed everybody up, and I think one of the first, if you just remember, let's have humans and stakes, and let's make, I think that would resonate to everything, from how they film it to everything, where it's like, let's just keep, I don't know, I think that would help. The other thing is variety, right? It's have movies have stakes and have variety. I think those two things.
It's.
Yeah,
I mean,
and all three of those are risky maneuvers for a studio, right?
Right.
Variety especially.
variety is risky because you don't know you'll make your money back. Stakes is risky in as much as you have to actually tell a good story.
Yeah, you need.
That's
a good
much
script.
harder for a blockbuster to do. You know, most.
Oh, yeah.
There's been so many successful ones that didn't do that.
Yeah, it's the studio. I mean, this is an age-old problem. It's just like the pendulum swings, right?
Like, if I'm an executive, my dream come true is a Roland Emmerich film, because you don't care about any of those people. You know what I mean? They're all just sort of windows into the effects, pretty much. You know, and you don't need to invest that much in them. They have a very simple, he wants to get the girl and live, and we'll only see him for 20 minutes. You know, most of it chasing. It's like, oh, okay, great. You know, it's just that it's not easy to do that.
But that's the thing, is it's just diminishing returns. After a while,
Right.
we've sort of learned, audiences have sort of tuned it all out, you know? And it's aggressive now, where it's like, yeah, you really get, you really have to give a shit about your movie. Now you need to actually try, because it felt like they weren't for the longest time, because I don't know why. I guess.
I mean, it's branded. I argue
Yeah,
it's
it's a branded thing.
because branded is an easy way to get us excited about something. All right, we're doing a Harry Potter or something like that. Everyone, let's go. Everyone's excited about it because there's so much history there between the audience already, right? So that's why branded iconography works. But the problem is that when you don't have that branded iconography, you can't have the variety of just, the second Lord of the Rings. You know, it's like you don't have that lying around, right? And so they're like, well, let's get excited about this thing that's a property that no one really cares about. Like, the majority of people don't know it. And so they can't really get excited about it. So they try to foster this fake sense of camaraderie with the fans that doesn't exist and not exist. No one knew what Twisters was. There wasn't people going oh shit, they're making Twister.
Finally.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, finally.
I read the manga, it's like you don't have that shit. So you have to do it with story alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the branding is a big problem. And because nowadays it feels like people are just, that's it. They're just responding to brands. And then when those brands fail, they fail hard. Where it's like Star Wars, where it's like we're betting it all and we're making a Star Wars land. We're having our entire studio that's just Star Wars.
Yourself up.
Yeah, and then when everybody goes, guess what? We're sick of Star Wars. They're like, oh, okay, we're gonna fire thousands of people, I guess, and it's gonna wreck a small economy.
Yeah. It's because we're a nation state of Star Wars, because we make that enough money to essentially be a superpower.
Because
those are the big ones.
Yeah, what if Lucasfilm said okay, we're making other movies now? You remember how they were? That was the point of them. Yeah.
Remember how they were almost like a
that.
studio's job was to make a few like sure things so they could pay for other
I was just
more
thinking about
artistic
that.
endeavors?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. The problem is in order to make the one thing make money, it's got to compete against all the other one things, and those all cost a yearly budget.
We're starting to change. We're peeking our heads out of that farmhouse because the storm's gone. Because like, had this movie been made 5 years ago, maybe 5, maybe a little longer, do you think there would have been a post-credits Twisters universe tease? Do you think they would have tried a Twisters verse?
I mean, they wouldn't have made the film, but that's an interesting notion that there are examples that are not that far from that, I would argue.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck were we thinking? What are we doing here?
We wanted to make everything a cinematic universe.
Yeah, it's almost like the second that like our economy and our service industries and our product industries became arguments for generating wealth instead of quality of products, it's almost like we kind of fucked ourselves. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass.
I think we should bring it all down.
Yeah. That
Do you have a
Twisters proves it. Finally.
Yeah.
We've done
We've
it.
needed proof, and finally we got a full 3-point scan on this.
Go watch Twisters
Finally.
and let's start a revolution.
All three of us scanned it, and now we know.
All right.
The three
I
of
think
us.
we're done.
It came
The
to me in
fact
a
that we're-
dream.
Yeah.
All right, comrades. I think we're good with Twisters then, right?
I'm good with it.
We
Yeah,
solved Twisters.
I think we solved a lot
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Just as I may just be a humble podcaster, but I think I've made the world better today.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go eat corn on the cob.
Hey, that's pretty sweet.
Are they
dude.
cooking that for you?
Isn't it?
Is that a Massachusetts summer dish, Dave?
Oh, it's a fucking Massachusetts summer dish. It's end of summer. We went and shot guns today. We're going to go chow down on some corns on the cob.
Yeah.
I'm going to cob out. I'm going to
Yeah.
suck off some corn.
Are you gonna
Like a Twister.
Are you gonna go make a candle after this?
Yeah. I could.
I don't
could
believe
make a
any.
candle.
Here's my problem:
made
is
a
I don't
candle
believe
before.
anything he's saying, but I don't know enough about Massachusetts to be like that's what is he's wrong about.
I can confirm that he has made a
Have you
candle.
never had corn on the cob?
I've had corn on the cob, Dave, but it's like
You
Iowa
can make candles
and
up
Kansas.
the ass. You can dip candles. You can do dip layers. You can do scent candles. You can mix and match. Over at Yankee Candle, baby. Flagship. The flagship. Yankee
were
Candle.
like,
Yeah, until
'cause-
then we didn't know what to do with flame. It was just like
Yeah.
just rolling through people's
Yankee
apartments.
Like,
Candle
how do we
What
deal with
invented
it?
It was
candles.
really nice
And
for
then we
light and
made
heat, but
candles.
man, what do we do with it?
Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, I don't know. So you're telling me your people are you come from candle making blood? Is that what
I'm
you're
from the candles. Yeah, I'm from the can. I'm from New England. I'm just going to say to you guys, you're welcome. For America.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that feels good.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
That feels good to hear that
Yeah,
from you.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from California.
We got those lobster backs. We got them good.
I really it thrills me whenever you have hubris, it really thrills me. It thrills me for a lot of reasons because what you're proud of, you've had nothing to do with, and the things that you'd like to be proud of are impossible. That's generally how that's a Dave thing. Like you're
That is
proud
a
of
Dave
Sbarro. You're proud of it.
Yeah. You should be. We should all be proud of Sbarro.
That's
That's
right.
my
Let's hear it
Italian.
for
That's
Dave.
my Italian roots.
You're Italian roots. You're a Sbarro Italian. You're from the island of Sbarro.
Yeah.
You come from the family
The little
food
town
court.
of Sbarro. That's where you grew up.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Clown ass fucking Dave.
Thank you guys for
I
being on this podcast.
Yeah, man, this was a lot of fun.
Sure.
I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other in the
Oh
future.
hell
yeah.
yeah!
Hell yeah.
What do you got? You guys want to plug stuff right here at the end?
Yeah, I mean, just a repeat of what we said. Patreon.com/smallbeans is where you find myself, Abe Epperson, and my cohort, Adam Ganser.
Yeah, I'm there.
And there's a third guy kicking around, but he's having butt surgery right now.
Yeah, I
And his
heard.
name
All
is...
right, we'll talk after.
We'll talk about that
Let's talk
after.
about it
But, he's fine. He's fine. But
Okay.
Michael Swaim and the three of us do a thing, and it's called Small Beans. Go check it out.
Yeah, we have lots of great shows there. One-upsmanship, frame
Yeah.
rate,
Frame of Rate.
Yeah.
Andersons. Where we talking about Wes Anderson and P.T. Anderson.
So many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll plug Gamefully, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You know what it is. You know where you are. You're here in America. Or not even America. You're on Earth. Planet Earth.
Planet Earth.
This one. This planet.
Home of the candle.